Pleasure to be joined now by Kirk Ferentz, Iowa's head coach. We appreciate you taking the time.
Good to be with you, Scott. Thank you.
Obviously, right now, Coach, in our country, there's one topic of conversation. That's what happened to George Floyd and the reaction afterwards, which really has spread all around the world. As you have approached this conversation and this topic with your team, how have you handled that?
First of all, the only time I could even compare this to, I was going to college in the early 70s, kind of at the tail end of what was going on in our country in the late 60s, early 70s. But it was a tumultuous time as well. And I think the biggest thing from our standpoint regarding what's going on currently right now is just we had a good opportunity Monday night to meet as a team, and then we broke into 6 different groups. I think there's some great conversation, great discourse back and forth amongst everybody. And then, we've continued just to try to stay in touch, brainstorm a little bit, coaches to coaches, coaches with players, and, a lot of individual phone calls. And just trying to see what we can do to help move forward as a team. And then most importantly, just all of our players continue to grow, players and coaches, everybody involved, grow and learn.
Kirk, I was having a conversation with a coach the other day, and he made the really fascinating point that, you've got players from all walks of life that have very different views on every topic under the sun that all put on the same uniform. And maybe you could be dressing next to a guy that thinks something totally different than you, but it feels like this is a moment in time that forces conversation that, if it hasn't happened before, is so necessary and really could be helpful, really could spur change. Maybe this is different. Do you sense that?
There's no question. The sports have long been, in my mind, the best thing about sports is just what you mentioned. You have 100 plus guys on a football team from all kinds of backgrounds, geographic areas, ages, all those things. And at any level, you have all those guys come together, hopefully for common goals. But for any good team to be successful, they have to exchange ideas. And the key thing, I think, is being respectful of each other. And I think, probably we could learn a lot in society just from teams that really do things right and function well together.
It would have been impossible to imagine that a story could take the coronavirus from the front page and move it down, but this clearly has. And both those stories will carry on beyond right now. The coronavirus will impact how every team tries to get back together and play, and I'm interested in how you as a team are dealing with that, given that every state and even under the umbrella of a conference are a very different situation. So for you all, Kirk, how are you dealing with that issue?
All of us have been basically living in a world of uncertainty since March 10th, 13th, somewhere in that ballpark.
Sure.
And trying to plan ahead right now and make schedules, that's impossible. And it's really kind of secondary, quite frankly. It's more about, handling the day-to-day. The pandemic has been something none of us have experienced. And then you factor in what's going on. And it's been, this is a long time thing, but to your point earlier, the events of the last couple of weeks here have been really illustrative. And you think about the George Floyd incident, and I think maybe not as powerful, but very much a teaching moment is the Amy Cooper incident that took place too. And both of these things I think are just great places to start discussions. And they're going to be great things for all of us to learn from as we move on and converse about and share opinions about.
And I recognize, I do a show about sports, and I said when I came in here on Monday, it feels ridiculous to do it, and yet you coach football and I talk about sports, so that's our job. And as you do try to figure out what summer looks like, what fall looks like, I get that you can't plan with certainty, but you have to plan. So how do you, on a daily basis, sort of fill out the whiteboard with some kind of an idea of what the day looks like?
Like a knucklehead, on the 13th, I started doing, plans about what it's going to look like in April. We get back a couple weeks off,
Right.
And obviously threw those out by Sunday. And I was smart enough to tell our players anything we think we know today, probably tear it up tomorrow. I just didn't follow my own advice. But right now, at least I think we kind of have model A, model B. All that being said, anything can happen. And then I think big picture wise, really, quite frankly, and I just got done talking to one of our players about this just a few minutes ago. Whenever we do get back to football, ball security, good tackling, all those things are going to be paramount. But there's a lot more going on right now. I think that's more important. And, we still have to take care of that. We have to take care of our strength and conditioning. But there are a lot of other things right now I think that really have moved to a much more prominent place in most of our minds.
Yeah, no doubt. And this was something we hadn't considered as we thought about the coronavirus. And now this is added to sort of the emotional toll that this takes and what you carry around with you. And giving players a chance to talk is a chance to hopefully move the conversation and the issues forward. But just as in terms of the ability to focus on trying to do what it is they do as players, I feel like this fall will be fascinating because I don't know how anyone could know, Kirk, what any of this is going to look like. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, do you have any sense of what even a game looks like?
Yeah, just on so many levels to that point. Yeah, what are the stadiums going to look like, assuming we get into the stadiums? So, everything that we're discussing, whether it's whenever we do return to play, before that's our re-entry back into facilities to do the strength conditioning work. So, everything is going to be like nothing we've done before in college football. And, you just have to be flexible. That's a big part of being successful in life. Certainly sports is just trying to keep an open mind, be adaptable and try to adjust as smart as you can and really rely on people that can help you with the pandemic situation. Everything gets deferred to the medical experts. Promise you, I never went to graduate school, let alone medical school. And then, from the other thing, it all starts, I think, with listening, talking candidly and listening to each other. And to that point, reference, I just talked to a player here a few minutes ago. And at the end of the conversation, I complimented him. I said, that's the most I've heard you talk in 3.5 years combined, in one conversation. So I really appreciate the fact that he was very open, had some very thoughtful ideas and wanted to share those. And we as coaches have witnessed a lot of that with the members of our team. Just really proud of them.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.